All right. Diets. Anyway, okay. So there was this study done a few years back where I think I may have told you a story before, but that's okay. You guys probably forgot or weren't listening, so it should be good. The white elephant experiment. Yeah? Do you remember the white elephant experiment?
It could be different, but I always say to people, don't think of the white elephant.
It's similar to that, yeah. It's a don't think of the white elephant. Basically what it is, it revolves around trying to control your thoughts and the way that we go about it. We often do it like by trying to push a thought out of our mind. So we start thinking about we try to push it out of our mind. We start thinking about our ex-girlfriend, we try to push it out of our mind. We start thinking about leaving or whatever. It's like, oh, I shouldn't think that, so you try to push it out of your mind. We do all of these things, right? We try to push them out. And they did this test a while back, and it's the white elephant thing, where they basically had two control groups. And one of the control groups, they said, picture a white elephant, and then they all picture it, and they're like, okay, the rest of the day just don't think of it. And they're like, okay. And they went on their way. The next group, they showed the picture of the white elephant, and they're like, here's an image of a white elephant. Do not think about it at all the rest of the day. But every time you do, count it so we can keep track of it. And so they went on their way. So you would think that, pushing it out of their head would work better. Actually, the control groups, the one that came back that they didn't count how many times, they didn't think of it at all. They were like, oh, I forgot all about it. Actually, it just went about my day. The ones that were trying to push it out of their mind, some of them were thinking about it almost up to the point where it was like once every minute where they were thinking about it. So at the end of the day, they're like, how many times did you think the group that was supposed to not think about the white elephant thought about it, 100 times? The group that didn't get told not to think about it basically forgot about it. And it's kind of how our mind works. If we really think about it, it's kind of screwed up. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Both ways in your mind and purpose-driven life that they say if you try to think about not doing something, you're more likely to do it.
Purpose-driven life, yeah. It's in a lot. I mean, it's not really an uncommon theory or whatever. It's not like a rare thing for people to talk about it because it is such a big deal, but we forget about it. And so I often, if you guys have heard me, I've often said, you should have, this set group of people certain people that you, get advice from. I have 3 men I get advice from. Those 3 men never change. Doesn't mean I don't, occasionally talk to other people or whatever, but I go to Brian, I go to Jason, I go to Kevin, and that's it. I don't go to, if it's a life-changing thing. They don't change. That doesn't change. So I won't decide I want to do something and then go to Jason over here. It's Jason, my friend in Germany. So I can't be like, oh, anybody will do, because anybody won't do. It's got to be the 3 that I know. But I'll tell you guys that because often what we'll do is we'll take something that's bothering us and we'll go to everybody in the house and talk about it individually. Think about that, because we do it, right? Or you've had other people do it to you, or somebody come up and be like, Christian, I just need to talk. And they'll sit there and they'll talk to you for an hour, and you'll be like, all of a sudden you'll feel like God's moving, and you're giving them great advice, and you're like, yeah, you should do that. And they're like, yeah, you're right. And you're like, and you walk away from the meeting feeling like, I just helped him. That was pretty cool. And then you walk around the corner, and they're talking to TJ, and they're like, TJ, and it's like the start of the talk that they had with you. You're like, wow, why did I just talk to you for an hour? And then 2 hours later, you see him talking to Will. And you're like, Will, don't bother, you're just wasting time. Am I wrong? Right? We do it. And the truth is, through the 12 people that they talk to, they probably get some good advice. But the problem is, mentally, all they're thinking about is that same thing. I look at it. I've been reading this book, Truly Free, and I want to get some more copies for you guys that are interested in it. It's just a really good book on becoming free from everything. If a thought is in your brain and it doesn't align with the righteous character of God, then whom does it align with? It's simple. Whatever you're thinking about, if it doesn't line up with God or with the character of God, then who does it align with? And we don't like to think that way, but it's like when we're thinking of sex with girls and we're like, well, I'm not actually doing it, so it's not that big a deal. But you're thinking about it all the time, or you're thinking about, killing your roommate or whatever. If it's not a godly thought, then who does it align with? And then you have to realize that, like, what are the ramifications from aligning yourself with the devil repeatedly. It's like before the devil can defeat anyone, he must try to disarm that person. And the way he disarms us is by causing us to question what God has clearly said. All of a sudden we're like, wait a minute, maybe that wasn't God that told me to come to the Timothy Initiative. I mean, maybe that was just me or my family. It's caused that confusion to make you lose a foothold in the thing that like brought you to where you needed to be. Interesting, it says, we're only as free as our minds are. Isn't that so true, though? It's like, I could tell you guys, hey, we're going to take a 3-day, no rules for 3 days. Do whatever you want. Here's everybody's cell phones back. Do whatever you want. Okay? Here's some money for everybody, whatever. If we all make it back in 3 days, whatever. Right? No, I don't mean you can go use or whatever, because you're addicts. Remember? I didn't say that the laws of the world don't apply to you. I'm just saying if all of a sudden stay out, hey, you got a girl, you want her to come over, you can do whatever you want. That type of freedom, right? But the reality is supposedly you're all here because you want to follow Jesus or get to know Jesus and find sobriety. So even though I lifted all of those rules, I'm not the one who determines your health down the road, right? So, yeah, I may have said it's okay to do this, but that it's not healthy to do this. So even though there's no actual, tangible, punishable rules, you're only as free as what your mind tells you you're free. Because, yeah, okay, you can go stay out as late as you want or do whatever. But you know that that's going to cause you to go do 10 other things. So the freedom that we have, we often want to just focus on the things that are so clear in front of us. It's I can't have a phone for 3 months. I can't date a girl for a year. I can't do this. I can't do that. But that stuff's irrelevant, man. It's totally irrelevant. It doesn't mean crap. It's just those are just boundaries to try and help you from killing yourself. That's all that is. But the reality is what's going on in your mind, because that's where the freedom begins. It's when you don't have your mind is not caught in constant chaos and constant don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, and you trying to push that thought out all day long, every single day. That's not free, no matter what the policies are. So it's how do we look at our thoughts? How do we turn our thoughts over to God? And I think that, obviously there's the scripture I'm going to read. Some of you here in this room have heard it 100 times. You're going to hear it 101 because it's just true. And it's not something that happens overnight. It takes practice to realize, thought comes into your mind. It's not of God. Don't think about it anymore. Move on. I mean, every time I've read this in the past, it's always been yeah. It's the Word of God says in James, he says, if you ask God, He will give, right? But then it says, if you ask, you must believe. Otherwise, you're like a wave that just keeps getting blown side to side from the wind. In other words, if I say, God, deliver me from this, I have to believe that God has delivered me from that. I can't go to Will, to TJ, to Christian, to everybody and say, I wonder if God's delivered me from this. Geez, how would I know, you guys? Hey, how would I know if it was delivered? Would I feel this? Would I feel that? It's well, no, you're not, because it's in your freaking mind and you're still focusing on it. You're still just constantly thinking about the thing that you asked God to deliver you from. So obviously you don't believe that God delivered you. So the devil is pushing you all around the place. It's we have to make a decision when we say, okay, that's what the whole point in like step 3. It's like we make this decision to follow God. Because without that decision, you're going to constantly be, am I following God? Am I not following God? Should I follow God? Do I believe in God? Who is God? Does God love me? Do I love God? That'll be your thoughts every single day. But the whole point in making a decision is that it's over. It's done. It's like I make a decision to get married. I'm married. I can't now think about, do I want to be married? Right? It's done. I made that decision. Yeah, you can get divorced, but then you have to make a decision, do you want to be divorced? Because once it's done, it's done. It's the same way with everything we think about. And so it's like, what is running through your mind daily? Why do we say in here, don't be thinking about what you're going to do when you get out of here? Why? Well, because you'll start to focus on that. Guys, no one here, we all have seen, if you haven't, and you just open your eyes, you will. As soon as someone starts thinking about that, the decline is like so rapid. It's just like, bam, bam. Tim's a perfect example. Tim was almost about 2 days away from graduating, relapsed, has not been able to stop relapsing since. It's fine for 6 months, made a decision. Right? So the point is, it's like, you can be doing good when you're in that place where you've decided to be in that place. But as soon as you start thinking, do I need to be in that place? It's over, man. It's over. It's like, I'm going to go get high. I'm going to keep getting high. It's ironic, man. It's like we got Tim, Pete, and Cedric all stayed here this week. All 3 that's half of the graduating class from last November. The other 3, David Bankston, Cody, and Joe. So the point is, it's like, you can't be thinking about 5 days, 5 years, 5 months from now sometimes. You got to think about today. Today. Why is it in recovery that we say 1 day at a time? Because it is 1 day at a time. And the moment you stop living in 1 day at a time, it's over. It really is, man. It is for me. I know if I start thinking about, what am I going to do when I stop working at the Timothy Initiative? Before you know it, man, I'm thinking about more money, life. It's like, all of a sudden, my mind is open to a world that does not exist. It doesn't exist, guys. That's the problem. That's where the devil gets us. Is like, he starts us thinking like, let's think about what we're going to do in 2 months. That freaking world doesn't exist. Why? Because you haven't done the work to get to where you need to be to live out 2 months from now. That's why. And so what happens? We start dreaming about the dream. We start thinking about the dream. And we're like, all of a sudden, guess what? I've done the work to get to the dream. And is it even the right dream? It's your dream. It's not God's dream. It's all in the mind. It's all in our heads, man. It's like, what are we focusing on today? It's like we should start like asking each other, just randomly, what are you thinking about today? And if the person's like, well, I'm just thinking about right now. Good. Think about today. What are you thinking about today? I'm thinking about when I'm going to get back together with my girl. I'm wondering if she misses me. No, stop. Don't think about that. Thinking about my family. Should I like go? Will they love me again? Stop. Who knows? Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. I don't know. But today, you're doing something to change your life, to become a lovable person. You have to do the work, and dreaming about the future takes the work away. It says you don't have to do it. There's your image. That's what you want. There's the job with all this money. There's a house. There's a girl. There's a whatever, man. But you haven't figured out why you used in the first place. You haven't figured out why you've been so angry in the first place. You haven't figured out why you don't like to be around people, or you do love to be around people, or whatever your dysfunction is. You haven't figured out where it began. And if you don't know where it began, then what are you doing, man? What are you doing? And it's continual. It's a life thing. So the next false that the enemy tells us, the next lie is that you did do the work, so you're good to go. No, you're not. It's like I'm 10 years sober, and I'm still figuring crap out about me. Still trying to figure out why I tend to do this wrong or that wrong. And I know there's a root to it, and I know I need to get to it. And I'm even considering going through a deliverance in a couple weeks because I feel like, man, maybe I need to be delivered from something. I'm not above saying I'm still screwed up. Don't you guys be. Because You are. That's why. Because you are screwed up. It's a journey, man. It's a journey to go through life and try to figure out all the different areas of your personality, of your whole personhood, who you are as an individual, and why some of them are screwed up the way they are, and why some of them aren't. And it takes work. But don't fall victim to the lie that, like, you can live out the dream just because you can picture it so vividly in your head. It's like, I can see it. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to stay part of the initiative. I'm going to come into Bible studies, and I'm going to go to church on Sunday, and I'm going to stay in contact with the guys. I can see it. And I can say, no, you won't, because no one does. The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. Stop thinking about anything that is past today. That's my advice. Think about today. This is where you are. This is what you're doing. This is what you're trying to do to make sure that what happened last year doesn't happen again. Jesus, we just come before you and we say thank you for today. Thank you for everything that you're doing in each one of us. Thank you that you love us in a way that we can't even love ourselves. So Jesus, I just ask you to just give us the strength to take every thought captive and the knowledge of when to do so. We love you, Lord. It's in your name we pray. Amen.